Hello guys, how are you doing today? I'm Constance and thank you for joining me in the next episode of my English class. Alright, this lesson we're going to be having is what? Story time. We're going to be having story time, and you remember the George and Venus story, and in our last episode Venus shunned George, right? She told him when he asked her when she would be coming back home, she shunned him a bit and tell him she will call him back. So we're going to pick up from there and see where the story goes, guys. Let's see where the story goes. I hope you enjoy the story, all right? But before I go any further, please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and hit that notification bell. Yes, hit that notification bell so whenever I post a video, you will be the first to have it, and also to keep up with the story, guys, to keep up with the story. All right, so let's begin. The silence of the phones had George Greenback feeling more complex than before. He was totally lost for words. Soon, he felt the urge to dial the number of his girlfriend Venus Thomas once again and demand from her an explanation. But his reasoning had override his urges. What will she tell me now? George found himself asking with a drawl in his voice. Would she be honest with me or fill my hair with some cockamamie story? He continued, reasoning with himself. And like a light switch had just flickered on his conscience, George told himself he was going to ride this wave for whatever it is worth. Because he knew hunting down Venus to find out if she was having an affair with him wouldn't solve his problems. At least Venus had made her first $1,000,000 and was already deemed financially secured. Therefore, George straightened out his back, pulled up his pants, and conditioned his mind to be one of Richard Thomas's business students. With his mind now made up to receive mentorship from Richard Thomas, George now exited his bedroom to mingle with the big boys, hoping he would find out something interesting or valuable about the business he intended on being a part of. If he made himself more sociable with Venus's father and his crew of men. But as soon as George stepped out of his bedroom and into his living room, Venus's father brazenly asked, are you ready to put your best foot forward, son? So you can get this place furnished and get some money in your pockets for your future and that of my daughters? George wasn't expecting such a question, and for a while he stood there dumbfounded, thinking he would have given him a brief overview of the business venture they intended on embarking on together in the next few days or so. I only have one more thing to do, sir, and then I'll be fully able to comply with the family business, George finally responded. I like that, son. Very good. I like that. I really like the sound of that, Richard Thomas said in a very chauvinistic manner with a bottle of drink in hand. I'm so proud you have seen this task as a family business and not me trying to take advantage of you, a poor village boy, continued the businessman, still in an extravagant mood. Taking a double sip from his bottle of stout, Mr. Thomas began lecturing his daughter's boyfriend. I know you are thinking you have to run back to that mechanic shop and seek your boss's approval to what I'm about to introduce to you. But if you're going to stay in my daughter's life, you will have no other choice but to come and work for me, because The monthly bills alone around here will have you hunting for a second job within no time. Don't you think for a minute you're going to allow my daughter to spend a single night inside this house in darkness or without food?" shouted Venus's father. As though reflecting on something in the far distance, Richard's voices became calm and damper, restrained, and soon he uttered, "Tell you what, George, go by your mechanic shop first thing in the morning, consult with them if you want to, but please meet me back here by noon so we can get you some fresh clothing. Okay, my son?" "I'll do that, sir," George answered softly. The last drizzling drip of drink down his throat, Richard Thomas gave George a hearty handshake, and then told him good night. I thought you guys were spending the night here," George said as though his tongue was tied in knots. A question which had Richard given George a stare packed with disdain. However, the businessman decided on being diplomatic with his response and answered with a smile. "No, George, I'm going back to the hotel to shower, to shave, and sleep. I'm just too old and I've worked too hard throughout the years to be bouncing it on somebody's hardwood floors." "I'm sorry, sir," George responded, bowing his head nervously. "Ah," Richard Thomas said, dipping both hands in his pockets. Soon he pulled out a folded piece of paper and handed it to George. "I need for you to study the names and numbers on this piece of paper. Make sure your eyes and mind become very familiar with them," Richard Thomas commanded. "And if God should ever break the sky and tell you he would like to see that piece of paper I had just handed to you, you tell him no. Okay, son? Tell him no. You understand me? Tell him no," the businessman warned. Still in his young, innocent, boyish voice, George Greenback responded, "Yes, sir, I will," before closing the door behind Venus's father and his crew of men. Uncertain of his blessing or the bullshit ahead of him in the near future, George, with much arrogance, rolled up the piece of paper and threw it to the floor. But a call from Richard Thomas later that Friday night, wanting to have a private consultation with George, had him on all fours searching for the piece of paper in the corner of the house. "Wellington, Clinton, Bush, and Blake, these are my big buyers of oil. And if you want your children and wife to eat well, had on a 2% to all their orders. It's a part of the business. But please don't get too greedy and add on more than that, or else you will end up in the doghouse, which is not a pretty place for kids like you." "Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I understand," George answered nervously. "I'll see you in the morning or in the afternoon tomorrow. And don't be late," Richard Thomas said, before silence took over the phone lines. All right? Before silence took over the phone lines. I'll see you at noon tomorrow, and don't be late," Richard Thomas said, before silence took over the phone lines. So you see, guys, where the story is heading. George has gotten Mr. Richard's list, Miss Thomas, Richard Thomas list of high profile men who buys oil from him. So now George is getting into the business. But what will George do? Will he stay with the company, will stay with the family, build a business for him and his wife and future generation, or will he break this whole thing up? All right, will he leave Venus and find somebody else from his village who is just coming from the same social class as he is? Or will he stay and stick and push through? Or will he go back to his mechanic work and just stay there? Oh my goodness, what is George going to do? What is Venus going to do? Is Venus going to suffer from a broken heart? Let's see where this story goes, guys. Let's see where this story goes. Alright guys, my name is Constance. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so whenever I post a video, you will be the first to have it. Until my next class, I hope you'll join me then. Until then, bye-bye. And check the description box below for my merch. Okay, guys, bye-bye.